or not. Looks like we're about to draw opening hands. Now, we haven't seen Bant Toxic yet, so talk us through this. What's the game plan for this Bant Toxic deck?
Well, so if you're unfamiliar with, poison decks and kind of how they play out, the idea behind the toxic mechanic / poison is you only have to deal your opponent 10 points of damage, because if they have 10 poison counters, they lose the game. So we kind of have, we're starting the curve off with some 1-drops, Crawling Chorus, Skrelv, and Venerated Rotpriest. There's this combo where you can have like Venerated Rotpriest with March of Swirling Mist, which is a way for you to target multiple creatures, kind of maybe pitching a couple of blue cards and getting a mana discount, while also dealing your opponent some poison counters, because Rotpriest, whenever a creature you control becomes targeted, they get a poison counter. We have some protection, like I said, Skrelv. We have Serum Snare for bounce, Bring the Ending as counter spells. Fading Hope, some more bounce spells. So kind of like a tempo deck, and it's all revolves around Skrelv's Hive.
Yeah, this deck looks on paper like a draft deck from Frexit Orby 1. But in Synergy, a lot of these cards do a lot of good things, and clearly in the hands of a good mage like Will, able to be 4-0 right now. Best contention to get into top 8 currently, but is on the draw. This deck performs a lot better when it is on the play, and we're going to start off with a Crawling Course.
Yeah, somebody, player named Will playing a deck that has poison cards. I wonder why we featured this individual.
No, look, I'm not biased. I'm not biased at all. Just, a Will infecting the opponent. What's not to love? As end of turn, we're gonna. That's main phase, isn't it? Oh, okay, yeah. Because I suppose we know that there could be counter magic on the other side from Will. So main phase in this, getting a 2/2 vigilance on the battlefield gives us the block that we need. Because toxic and infect, 2 different mechanics. No -1/-1 count is happening here in combat. It is the upside of toxic. You do normal damage as well as poison counters. Infect don't do normal damage, but you do damage in infect, which means -1/-1 counters will be coming into effect. As our follow-up play is going to be the Jawbone Duelist, the 1/1 double striker with toxic. That card in itself can kind of finish matches up pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I mean, this is exactly how you draw it up here for Massimo. This was a very heads-up play, like you mentioned, main phasing that Virtue of Loyalty. The most important thing against this Bant Toxic deck is just play blockers. Like, you need to have as many things in play that can be able to block your opponent's creature, because once you take that first point of poison, there are ways to proliferate. Serum Snare, Experimental Frenzy, things like that can kind of keep, get the ball rolling, that allow you to, allow Will to deal damage or poison damage without using combat. So just preventing that first point of poison is really, really big here, as we see a Rotpriest hit the battlefield. So maybe Will's going to force that first point anyways. But yeah, basically exactly how Massimo wants this game to go.
And we're playing slow, holding up this 2 mana, which obviously can be used for Bring the Ending. A lot better once there are toxic or poison counters attached to your opponent, but in this scenario, it's still just it works as a soft counter spell, making that they have to pay 2. There's also some Snare. Potentially, Will could be holding up, bouncing opponents back with a bit of proliferate. Again, not great currently. But a lot of things to think about, and that is one of the good advantages of these Bant Toxic decks. But they do really have the advantage if they are on the play, able to get that first bit of chip damage in, and Toxic token counters piling up. Not to say that there isn't reach in this deck, though, with Rotpriest, right?
Right, exactly. And this is kind of the 1-2 punch that we brought up earlier, is Venerated Rotpriest, which you see on the battlefield, plus March of Swirling Mist. March is kind of a weird card if we can get up on the screen, but it's a card that allows you to target multiple creatures, and you can pay X, and it has the kind of the March text that all of them have, where you can pitch cards to pay an additional 2 mana. So for example, if you pitch, 1 blue card and pay a mana, you can target 3 things with that 1 March, because it's X equals 3, and each individual thing that you target will give your opponent a poison counter with that Rotpriest.
Amazing when you have multiple Rotpriests on the battlefield, by the way. That in itself can win games so quickly. Just being able to, every single thing I target, I'm going to be gaining 2 counters to my opponent. We're just going to kind of add to the battlefield a little bit more. Not scared of any sweepers on the other side. It's pretty much a stock Esper Legends deck that we've come to kind of know and see a lot do pretty well in standard tournaments of recent, online and in paper. So that's why we're going to be talking quite a bit about this Bant Toxic deck, not because it's me favoritism in it by any point, as we're going to see in Otawara end of turn.
Yeah, this Esper deck is very similar to one that we saw earlier, featuring the copies of No More Lies in the main deck. It seems like that has been kind of widely adapted over something like Make Disappear, because it's just as we did an interview with Robert earlier, where he was talking about people playing around Make Disappear but not playing around No More Lies. So yeah, that's that's going to be a big feature of these Esper decks moving forward. Looking at the removal spells, we have 3 cut downs, 2 destroy evils, 2 go for the throats as ways to potentially kill Will's creatures, and then destroy evil, notably also taking care of Skrelv, although that has not been a feature of this game, at least yet.
No, not yet at all. But we do need to start applying pressure. We can't give either of these two deck a little bit of breathing room. As soon as we do, and they start getting that little bit of advantage, which the bat might do this now, telling us what is up on the other side of the battlefield. How does Will want to go about deploying this? Very logical thinker. It's done very well on the NRG series. And I think I actually was commentating the one where he won with the mono black deck in Legacy, which was a masterclass. Absolute masterclass. I love seeing that deck in action in the hands of Will.
Yeah, this Deep Cavern Bat is definitely something that Will didn't want to see, because you could kind of you kind of got the vibe that he was maybe trying to set up the Venerated Rotpriest plus March at least somewhere down the line. And now that Deep Cavern Bat is on the stack, Will has to really think about, does he want to use that March now to potentially get a couple of poison counters in? Do you want to just let the bat take it and maybe find an answer to the bat later on? But we're lining up 3 mana, so it looks like we may be casting that March here.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to be targeting our own creatures, getting the toxic going. Going to phase them out. Talk me through the phase out mechanic. It's kind of something. Don't laugh at me like that.
God!
Please, do you know it, or do you want me to go for it?
I know that I'm pretty sure that phasing means that the exact wording is that you treat the creatures as though they didn't exist. But there's some weird kind of like additional sub rulings where auras stay on, counters stay on. Like, the creature retains all of its abilities and stats that it had before. It's just vanished for a turn. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's basically how it works.
Normally when we see this effect, it's like a flicker effect, right? That's why you brought up the counters and the anything attached to it. Normally, if you flicker things, they fall off. Not when it comes to this, when you're phasing them out. It is literally, as you said, like they are not there. We disregard them now, and they'll come back at the end of, the beginning of your next
untap step.
Untap step. Which is, again, another word. When's it ever untap step? It's normally upkeep. It's, you know what I mean? It's is what it is.
Yeah, the reason, and phasing is also weird because you mentioned with flicker effects, phasing does not, the creatures would not have summoning sickness not next turn. So, for example, Will gets those 2 creatures back, the Rotpriest and the Crawling Chorus. If Will wanted to, he could attack with those. Now, obviously, board state doesn't look like profitable for attacking anyways, but they would not be affected by summoning sickness.
All right, we're going to get a little bit of damage in here. Just 1 card drawn, 1 card discarded, +1/+1 counter added to the Knight, making it a 3/3. No idea what that card there was that got played because the glare on it. I think it might be a black card, but not entirely sure. Having a little look. It could be a Preacher. I'm going to go with Preacher and see if I'm,
there's
wrong or not.
A bit of a glare on that one. Preacher, I mean, if 3 mana was lined up, which it was, that would make a lot of sense. See a Skrelv here for Will. One thing to note with the Rotpriest specifically says when it becomes the target of a spell, not a spell or ability. So if there's something like, an Otawara bouncing a creature, that will not trigger the Rotpriest.
Yep, thank you very much for clearing that up. That was going to be my question because chat's talking about it. But 2 toxic now for, Will's managed to get 2 toxic across the board, just 8 more to go because maybe people watching this the first time.
Just 8 more to go.
well, it's better than doing 20 damage currently. But what I was getting at is people might not understand what we're doing here. Why are we adding toxic? What's the difference if my opponent has 20 toxic or 20 life? What's the difference here? Talk me through that.
So the toxic creatures deal damage so it's not quite like you said earlier, not quite like Infect where they only deal poison damage. They deal regular combat damage, and then they have a number. So, for Rotpriest and Crawling Chorus, they have toxic 1, which means that when they deal combat damage, they also add a poison counter. If a player has 10 poison counter or 10 or more poison counters, they lose the game. So that's kind of an alternate win condition, and it allows Will to, effectively only have to deal 10 damage where Massimo has to deal the full 20.
We've got a judge call here. I think what it is Massimo might have missed the draw trigger from attacking. And I think they're going to try and clear that out with a judge and ask, like, what's the ruling here? Did I miss this? Is this a trigger I can miss? And as soon as we kind of work that out or we get a conclusion to that, well, I imagine we'll just be able to see it anyway. I think this is going to be an easiest quick fix, so we won't just come back to the booth just yet, but if it does drag on, we'll come back to the booth and you can see our beautiful faces. But I do think this will be quite an easy fix, as in, oh, my opponent did this, they tried to kill it, I didn't say I was drawing my card, or maybe I did announce I was drawing my card. Because Eiganjo, only a one-off in the list here for Will, but how much have we seen so far in Standard these channel lands be super important? I think every deck's playing at least one or two, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, if we just had Dom Harvey in the feature match last round, and Dom Harvey had 12 of them. Now that's a bit of an extreme example because Dom is playing a Legends deck that is, that is a heavy feature of Dom's deck. But yeah, for the most part, I mean, looks like Massimo has one of each: Otawara, Eiganjo, Takanu. No, I don't see Takanu. So just Otawara, Eiganjo for Massimo. And then taking a look at Will's deck list, I think there is one Otawara, one Eiganjo. So yeah, these channel lands are very good. It's just a way to kind of enable, get spells into your mana base, which you don't typically get to do.
Yeah, like in the early game, great. That's my land drop. Late game, great. I've got a spell that I can, in Dom's case, he can kind of research here. That is going to take a little while they're sorting out the ruling of what's happening, explain to the judges, letting them talk through it, come to a conclusion. So while I do that, we're going to come back to the booth. And I'm going to remind everybody what has happened so far this weekend. Yesterday on this very channel, we had the Pioneer Showdown, where we managed to, have, I think it was 9 rounds of Pioneer action with the top 8, where 5 Phoenix decks got to that top 8, and eventually one of them managed to take it down. And then today we've started off Standard all day is going to be the format. We're in round number 5. 3 more rounds after this. For all you people quick at math out there, that is 8 rounds of Standard action today before we do cut to that top 8. Only a couple more rounds left of my weird English voice before we pass it off to the afternoon crew, where we'll talk about what's happening that a bit later on, but there's going to be some change around to casters later on. As moving forward here, can I get a answer on what the conclusion of that was? Production was a card, was it missed or was it drawn? What was the outcome of that judge ruling?
Can't tell you anything about the card currently. We'll get an update on that. But what I will tell you is that Eiganjo was targeting Preacher, and Massimo had the blowout where Wandering Emperor put a counter on it to give it 5 toughness. So that's a huge swing here for Massimo.
That is that's so backbreaking. Hey, on the flip side, we got it right that it was Preacher that was put at the bottom, the card at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
So hats off to us. Golden Wandering Emperor. Normally, when it comes down, does start off with the tick down ability, but in this instance, in our turn, we did cast it here for Massimo and get that +1/+1 encounter, which is huge. Will still has the ability to block though, to finish it off if he wants to. Was allowed to resolve the effect. Okay, so we were allowed to draw because obviously we had higher life total than our opponent. So the trigger is we draw a card. If our life total was lower, we would make a 1/1 life linker. But Massimo allowed to imagine if that card he was allowed to draw was the Wandering Emperor, just like max blowout for Will.
Yeah, and I mean, we kind of talked about earlier how this, Massimo is really in a position where just wants to put as many bodies on the field that are good at blocking, and we see Rafine and the 2/2 Vigilance on defense with a counter on it. So it's really hard for Will to kind of make any sort of profitable attack, and Massimo is still clocking Will this entire time. Will's all the way down to 10 already.
Yeah, I think how does Will win here? It's going to have to be some sort of Rotpriest shenanigans, I imagine. Like maybe if we can hit another Rotpriest into a chump block, get a token back into a march. It's definitely going to be uphill battle because, as I said, like Massimo's got so much damage on the other side of the battlefield. Right now, I'm not sure if it's completely lethal. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So potentially 13 damage could be coming across. But his only one of him Will's deck, the Annex Sentry, the 1/4 for 3 mana, whenever toxic 1. ETB can exile and target artifacts, or is it creature. Artifacts? Is it creature?
Artifact or creature.
Yeah, artifact creature opponent controls with mana value 3 or less until it leaves the battlefield. Kind of like an O-Stone effect, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just like a nice little Oblivion ring that also has top, 1/4 body, pretty good. Toxic 1, pretty good. So pretty, a lot of good stats here for Will. I think Will's path to victory this game, like you mentioned, probably has to involve some combination of Rotpriest plus March. And we go back a couple of turns to when Massimo cast that Deep Cavern bat. Will had the March and you would imagine that really wanted to hold on to that for as long as humanly possible, but the bat kind of forced the issue and put Will in a position where he had to play a spell that he didn't necessarily want to.
So we're going to come up. We're still turning everything sideways here. Another card's going to be drawn for Massimo. Not missing it this time. A lot of pressure comes with playing in the feature match area. You know what I mean? The last thing you want to do is make a mistake on camera because your friends keep rinsing you for it. I'm sure there's lots of me doing it out there. I'm terrible in my feature matches. I think I've got a record of like 1-6 is my record in feature matches. I'm not good with a camera in front of me. Who would have thought?
I see a nice little big attack here for Massimo coming in with the Preacher, the Bat, and the 3/3. That's an attack for 7. Will at 10 could maybe take all of this. We're lining up a block here on the 3/3 with the 1/4. Seems like a reasonable block, considering chump blocking the Preacher, which is pretty good. You're soaking up a couple of damage and still getting a token back on the way out, so not really losing a lot of battlefield presence here for Will.
No, true. And this is what Will needs, I think. I think he's bowed himself another turn, potentially maybe 2 turns, depending on what Massimo can add to the battlefield here. And that 2 turns could be another Rotpriest into a march and potentially stealing this game out. Also, things to note, Skrelv, if we use the ability on Skrelv to give something, protection from a color or can't be blocked, etc., it adds Toxic 1 to it. So can make one of these creatures on the battlefield currently Toxic 2 if it does connect and hit Massimo, which means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, we'd be 1 off that sort of out currently. Unfortunately, I would say unfortunately for Will.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Massimo. Yeah, I was just gonna say it's kind of seemed like the way that he made this attack. It made it seem like he probably had a different colored creature here because Massimo is aware of that Skrelv, but now the Skrelv can't really do that much because there's a black creature and a white creature available to block. So you can only you can't Skrelv for multiple colors. So yeah, Will's kind of now put in a position where he can't really do anything like that. Facing down a ton of pressure, doesn't have really good attacks. And we'll have to see. Looks like a couple of cards in hand, maybe at least one.
Also representing counter magic, right? Representing something like No More Lies in hand as well. So Will's got to put that into account. Can I play around it? Can I not play around it? Do I just have to jam and hope for the best? We're going to start by tapping 2.
What do we got?
It's going to be the Bone Jaw.
Jawbone. Okay. It's not even clear how good the Jawbone Duelist is on this board, right? Just kind of gets bricked by a 3/3.
Not while there's 2 different color creatures on the other side. If you can hit combat of this, double strike with Toxic 2 is pretty good. And then we're going to go
Hive.
Hive is good once we've got Toxic 3 on the other side, giving all our creatures lifelink. We lose 1 life in our upkeep and gain a 1/1 Mite to the battlefield. If our opponent has 3 or more Toxic counters, then all our creatures with Toxic gain lifelink as well. But issue being, Massimo's at 2 Toxic. And yeah, that's going to be enough. Will's going to scoop them up. We're going to be going to a game number 2. So for all you beautiful people watching at home, and we thank you all for tuning in and watching this, we can get the sideboards up on the screen for you all. This is a closed deck list tournament, but just for you beautiful people watching, we managed to pull this out the bag for you. Just having a look at this, Doom. What do you like bringing in?
So it's kind of tough, right? Because the Esper deck is really good at attacking you from multiple different angles. You need to have stuff that protects against removal, like the protection and things like that. You also need to have enough removal spells of your own or ways to clear blockers. So, I mean, realistically, you could talk yourself into boarding in a lot of these cards here from Will. Annex Sentry is a good way to kill Rafine and Preacher. Spell Pierce is a reasonable way to fight over stuff like No More Lies, Destroy Evil, and Go for the Throat. The Disdainful Stroke, probably don't want that. Get Lost, another good answer to Rafine. Charge of the Mites is, I don't know if that's for this matchup. It's a little expensive when you're trying to kill Rafine because it's 3 mana. You have to have 4 things, and it's 3 mana plus the additional 1. But 3 mana for 2 bodies, maybe that's good enough if you're trying to go wide. But yeah, give me the Annex Sentries and the Get Losts. Past that, I don't know if Will's going to want a ton else.
Well, let's move across to the Esper Legends list. Have a little look at what 75 was brought this weekend and the sideboard. So what would you bring in here to try and secure this game 2 and the victory to make yourself 5-0?
So the one thing that you want to look from Massimo's side is how many sweepers do we have? So we have 2 temporary lockdowns. Those are absolute slam dunks. They kill basically everything in Will's deck with the exception of Sentry. Gix's Command, it's a little bit more expensive, opens you up a little bit more to the cheap counter magic from Will, but it is still worth bringing in, I believe. And then past that, I actually like Duress a lot against Poison. The reason is a lot of their cards that kill you are non-creatures, right? Now, they don't directly kill you, but March plus Rotpriest, you want to be able to take March with Duress, and then the counter spells and or bounce spells. You want to be able to pick apart those because it really allows you to dictate the pace of the game. And then, like if let's say you're trying to fight over, you want to resolve your Rafine and make sure it doesn't die, you take their bounce spell. You want to, fight over whatever. It allows you to kind of pick apart their draw. So I like Duress. And Lorian is something you could maybe consider to be able to blow up the Skrelv's Hive, but not sure if you want to that many answers with the Destroy Evils already in the deck.
So both players basically have a lot of options, kind of dealer's choice how they want to go about this, because you've also not only sideboarding cards that you think are good in this matchup, but you're also trying to pre-emphasize what your opponent could be bringing in. And as this is closed deck list, that is a lot of cards. So you got to kind of, it rewards you for playing this format and knowing what to play around and what to bring in and not. But we'll see how it played out for both players. I see them both shuffling up, about to draw their opening hands. Let's move back down to the table. When you're sideboarding in Paper Doom, do you tend to just put all 15 cards in and take 15 cards out, or do you just, I'm going to bring these 4 cards and then take 4 cards out? What sort of shuffle technique do you use when it comes to sideboarding?
No, I'm too lazy for that. I just go through my sideboard, take the 5 or 6 cards or whatever, put them down on the table, remove the 5 cards. I ain't got time for that.
I'm with you. I'm like, it's just, it seems like in theory it sounds good, but then I'm also like, is my opponent really watching me that closely? And I'm sure at like high levels it is, but not the other levels. I'm like, whatever, cool. Yeah, I'm bringing 4 in. If you can guess what these 4 cards are, go buy a lottery ticket. You know what I mean? Go. You've got the site. As we're finishing shuffling up, opening hands are going to be drawn, looking for a keep of 7 on both players here, so we can get a good game. More importantly, Will be on the play this game, which is huge. Potentially get that sort of toxic damage in early so it can accumulate. But going down to 6 cards, didn't like the opening 7.
Yeah, we'll definitely this is one of the matchups. I mean, there's a lot of matchups in Standard that have that play draw matters quite a bit, but with the deck that Will is playing, this is one of the decks that really, really wants to be on the play. Stuff like Skrelv's Hive, Jawbone Duelist, those cards get so much better when you're able to deploy them before your opponents. They have a tap land or whatever. You go turn 1 Skrelv, they go tap land, then you play Jawbone Duelist, and you kind of just put them under the gun immediately.
Scene right, can we get about opening 6 here from Will? I see some land, I see some spells. Does he like the sequence of them and how they can affect him so he can get this game number 2 and take us to a game number 3? And nope, doesn't like it. We're going to be going down to 5. This is rough from Will over on the Bant toxic list. One thing we haven't mentioned, Doom, and we're older gentlemen now, you know what I mean? We're getting, time is happening to us a little bit, and take this however you want, but Will's hair game is on point. I'm
glad you brought it up because I was going to mention that.
I am jealous of Will's hair. Like, that's up there with like Reed Duke level of hair envy. Such
I mean, I don't know if we want to go that far. It's good, but I don't know if it's Reed Duke good.
Oh, I'm jealous. You know what I mean? Like, there's we haven't seen many matches of Magic today, which is lost as bad as my hairline recently. So we're going to see maybe potentially Will, with that beautiful lock of hair, can pull it back with 5 cards on the play. I don't even know what 5 cards it would look like to be able to really move ahead. I imagine Skrelv Hive would be some part of it. Maybe 2 lands, Skrelv Hive, Rotpriest into a March, maybe something along those lines.
Yeah, Skrelv's Hive is definitely the card that Will's looking for on a couple of mulligans here, because it is a card that can kind of give you that card advantage back. Like every single token that you get is effectively worth another card with the toxic deck. So yeah, that's the card that Will's definitely looking for here.
So starting off on the Seedcore, that of course can tap for any color for any Phyrexian creature. The
Mana.
follow-up is going to be Skrelv Hive.
Is.
Okay, Skrelv into Skrelv Hive. This is how we kind of read it up. It was like
that's honestly that's as good as it gets for a 5.
And here comes a dress. Oh, come on, Massimo. We can do better than that. That is dress, right? I'm not making that up. That's
yeah. I mean, it shouldn't be duress. That duress should not be allowed in tournaments, by the way.
That's exactly. That's what I mean. That's what I was getting at. I was like, can I have all the dress arts? That's the one we're bringing, but it is what it is. What's your dress art of choice?
I have the Strixhaven Japanese fancy ones, or not fancy ones, but the alternate art ones. I like those ones.
I've got the I think they're the Secret Lair ones from I think it's League of Legends. I think it's got Jinx on it.
Got Jinx on it?
I think I'm saying the right ones. Don't tell me
I don't know.
I'm
if
making this up.
That one.
I am. Yeah.
Production's saying yes. So
yeah. That's what it is. The League of Legends dress ones. If you haven't seen them, you should look at them. They're beautiful.
Okay.
They are beautiful. Google them. They're pretty sick. Other than that, I also do like the Tarkia ones. They're with the dragon roaring. They're pretty sick. But the OG ones are, well, let's be honest, they're just OG ones. Ooh,
yeah,
okay.
I'm not sure why we're attacking with the token. That just came into play off Skrelv's Hive.
We'll get that passed down. Thank you very much.
Let's see if we can have the judge kind of take a look at that. Okay, it looks like they're realizing it now.
Massimo's worked that one out anyway. We've got an experimental. Is it experimental augury?
Augury, yep.
Yeah, augury. So instant, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand, put the rest at the bottom of your library in any order, and then proliferate. Where the damage has already happened, so there is at least a toxic counter on the other side. Well, in fact, there should be 2 counters, right? And this will be the 3rd, which means lifelink will be attached to all these creatures. But
yeah, the augury should be the 3rd. So I mean, it's going to be the same game state, untap token, resolve augury, good to go. This should be an easy fix, I would assume.
Yeah, we're going to get there's the augury on the screen for you all to have a little look at, and I think it might just be a warning while they're talking about looking at these cards. Can we come back to the booth quickly, production, just while we sort this out until we get a conclusion, then we'll move straight back down to it. No one wants to see people just randomly pointing at cards and not actually hearing what's going on there. But you do want to look at our beautiful faces. Look at this mustache. Look, what we lack in hair up here, I've got it here, and you've got it here. So it's kind of that's how time works, right? We lose it here, we gain it here. It is.
You have more up here than I do, so.
Well, it's a little bit. It's going, my friend. It's going. Don't you worry. It's my day job is not good for the stress levels that keep the hair on your head. So it is what it is. But while we're waiting for that to kind of resolve and we get a conclusion of what that judge call is, which we believe is going to be a quick one, easy to fix, let's give you a reminder of. Can we go over the next event after today that people can see the NRG live production? I'm literally calling this on the fly chat, so productions, we're going to see how good they are. There they are. That's how good they are. It is going to be Minneapolis on April 20th and 21st. If you're a fan of Modern and you love watching it, then you need to hit the follow button on this channel, because on Saturday there is a 10K Modern Showdown. But if Legacy, maybe that's your format of choice, a lot of Legacy players out there. Well, on Sunday we've got a Legacy 5K trial, so lots of decks, but a new set's just been released, a little bit of a shake up. The RC really put one of these decks back on the map severely, which I know Mr. Doommaker is a big fan of in Modern. So potentially, we can see the meta shifting and how people will be attacking it in April. On that one, if we are ready, production, you can either come back to the game or us. Looks like they're just sorting this out. These 3 cards are going to go. Nope. Okay, we know what the bottom 2 cards are from our mulligan, so we're going to leave them to the bottom. We're going to shuffle our deck. We're then going to rewind it. Skrelv is going to be attacking. Skrelv is going to do damage. Skrelv is going to do a toxic counter. Then Will is going to, I imagine, still cast this experimental. I forgot the name of it now.
Experimental
Augury, thank you very
Augury.
much. The Augury is going to be cast, and then the toxic count is going to go on from the proliferate. Will's going to look at the top 3 cards, going to add one of them to his hand, put the others on the bottom of his graveyard, and by the time this is all clean and done, there is going to be 18 life points versus 19 life points with 3 toxic on the other side, and the Hive is activated to give all the toxic creatures lifelink. Whew, and breathe.
That was a lot.
And breathe.
Now we're caught up. We are good to go. So yeah, token going to be...
We have to rewind it, right? We have to go back and keep the integrity. Otherwise, this will end up as some Reddit feed, and people will be going for blood. So
you don't want to be on Reddit.
No, you definitely do not want to be on that website. But that was a quick find for Will. Easy slam to the hand. It's been interested to see what it is he actually managed to get there. That's going to resolve. Going to go to the graveyard, proliferate, 3 toxic counters. And do we have a third land? We do have a third land. Then pass the turn. There we go. How can we follow up on Massimo? Do we have some sort of yep, I was about to say an answer to the Skrelv Hive, which is probably the most threatening thing. We do have that. We're going to come down, ETB, destroy target artifact. So that is off the battlefield. The Lauren.
Yeah, I mean, we talked
path.
We talked about kind of what Will needed on a Mold of 5 to win this game, and Skrelv's Hive was the card. That was the card that Will definitely did not want to see, though, is that answer to the Skrelv's Hive. But the token plus the Skrelv, with Massimo already at 3 toxic, you can Skrelv the token to get an extra toxic that gets in for 2, puts Massimo to 5. So I mean, there's something there, but then you have to worry about the Skrelv dying, which that might happen anyways. So
yeah, like. We also got the lands also online, so we can give one of our 1/1s +2/+1.
Yep.
And did we attack with the Skrelv? Oh, no. We're losing 2. We use the Skrelv's ability. We turn this sideways. Protection from white. 1 damage is going to happen, but 2 toxic is going to happen, more importantly. Another land drop here for Will. I think only 1 card left in hand. This is where the mulligan's really going to hurt. And just a pass.
Yeah, Will on a Mold of 5 this game. It's going to be really, really tough. So, Massimo at 5 toxic, it really wants to find an answer to that Skrelv. I don't think we know what the last card in hand is for Will. Maybe it's some kind of counter spell to save the Skrelv, because, Will's really just grasping at threads at this point, just needs to be able to keep the Skrelv in play. And that's not a removal spell, so that's, step 1 for Will.
No, true. But Lauren, obviously, it's going to end up attacking. It does have vigilance. Not entirely sure. Like Will's doing the piano, like the keyboard thing where you tap your fingers, pretending you're counting, but realistically, what more else could you have? You've only got 1 card in hand. We're going to lose a life. We're going to
charge the mites.
Yeah, I think it might be a charge. Yeah, charge. Do 2 damage.
Okay.
Before the trigger, so no trigger, so no extra cards for you. But Will is out of cards now. Oh my god, a cut down here would be brutal.
Yeah, that's what Will did not want to see. Interesting choice from Will to go ahead and use the charge as a removal spell instead of just make 2 tokens. I guess he figured that if he lets the Rafine ability resolve onto the Lorand, Massimo can discard a spell, have 2 blockers for the 1/1. So, it does kind of make sense. But yeah, just really needed to hope that that Will did not have a removal spell, or Massimo didn't have a removal spell, rather.
Yeah. Or maybe missing land drops and need to dig through it or something like that. Like Will needs to get a little bit lucky there. Didn't. Unfortunately for him, Massimo's going to be untapping and grip full of cards. Will playing face up. But that Mirrex can, the longer the game goes, with the least amount of pressure, can make a 1/1 Mite every turn. There's an outside chance, right? We've got to do 5 toxic damage to win this game. It's not out the realms of possibility. It's just not super likely, especially while Massimo's drawing 2 cards a turn at this rate.
Yeah, Mirrex does kind of give you a chance, like the combination of Mirrex plus Seedcore, where if Massimo has, some sort of blocker, maybe doesn't want to put that in front of the token, and we see Tishana's Tidebinder. That's going to take care of 1 token. Tidebinder only permanently stops the ability if it's an artifact creature or planeswalker, so not going to shut down that Mirrex. But now, I mean, Will can offer the trade. I don't know if Massimo wants to take the trade, but definitely can.
Will's in the tank. Like, basically just needs to get lucky. Something's got to go well. Here comes the attack. Here comes the trade. What did we get? or are we just holding up to make another 1/1?
Yeah, most likely just holding up to make a Mirrex token. Oh, we're
No.
tapping mana. Okay. See if there's a counter spell from Massimo. Doesn't look like there is. So that's Rafine down.
Ward 1 was paid.
Okay. Massimo's still got a couple cards in hand. Not sure exactly. Hard to take a look and see. I can't quite get a good look of what Massimo's got left over.
Probably everything. A lot of cards in hand. One of them being a land. That's what we're going to deploy for the turn. 5 mana here is good. Oh, great.
Yikes. Well, that's tough.
Okay. Yeah. So definitely one of them is going to be destroy creatures 2 or less, and the other ability was the return one.
Rebuy, Tidebinder, and Lauren. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, let's call it. That's that game.
I'm not sure if Will has any chance of beating those cards.
Not in a mode of, well, even in a mode of 7 might not, but might be able to have crossed the line by now. But yeah, it's going to be real hard for Will, just making a Mite at 1 a turn for 4 mana, while on the other side, Massimo is just drawing multiple cards, filling up his hand with loads of answers to be able to completely lock Will out of this and take this game down 2-0, advancing him to 5-0, which means he'll be 1 win away from being able to get that double ID and get into the top 8 of this standard 5K showdown.
Look at Massimo here, just, fully aware that he's in the driver's seat. Just, what? Attack with both. Whatever. Let's do it.
How important is that as a player to learn when you can turn the corner, so to speak? Like Massimo here, obviously this scenario is pretty obvious that he needs to turn the game down and win pretty quickly. But like as a skill to learn from a player, it's quite hard to know when you should do things and when you shouldn't do things, especially at high level, because that's where you get those extra percentage points are huge. Like here, discarding 2 spells to grow our creature to where Temple Lockdown is one of the best cards in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, in this particular instance, the lockdown doesn't matter that much because Will's basically on empty anyways, and that's kind of the that's why Massimo is pretty readily available. Massimo can just shove his creatures in there because he knows that Will doesn't really have any ways out of this. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely decks that give you the ability to play both sides of the spectrum, like play offense and defense. There are some decks that allow you to do that. And Esper is definitely one of those decks.
Okay, we're up to 2 cards now. Still in the tank. Still doesn't look super happy. But nor would I be if I just mulled to 5, got my best card destroyed, and then my board raft.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a sequence of draws that, I mean, it probably involves Rotpriest plus March, but I don't even know if we have that much time.
That's what we said in game 1.
Yeah. It's always Rotpriest March, right?
And just a pass of the turn here from Will. Another Mirrex added to the battlefield, but not enough mana yet to be able to generate 2 tokens a turn. How are we going to Massimo? Having a look at life totals, looking at land. We're just making these again. You're at 7. Attack trigger. This is an attack for 5 currently. If you discard 2 spells.
2 spells is lethal, yeah. Let's see if we have 2 spells.
Will's doing the stack my 3. I definitely don't have a way to bounce your card back to your hand. And there's the hand extension. Massimo's going to be able to take this down 2-0, advancing 5-0, means 1 game away from getting into the double ID territory, locking yourself a top 8 spot today here on our Sunday showdown. So really, well played there. Just because your opponent takes a mulligan to 5, you still got to, be able to play well to finish it out and not give your opponent the opportunity to get back in the game. Pretty cool. I am sad though. Will lost with Toxic. Is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Will curse, right? The only reason that Will lost is because you're in the booth. If it was Mason and I, then Will probably would have won that match easy clap. So
I apologize now to all Wills out there and all Infect players, but I'm being told we have a backup match ready to go. So let's just move straight down to it. Let's see who we've got and what decks are they playing. Talk me through it.
All right, so a lot of viewers at home may not recognize the name, but on the right-hand side of your screen, Sean Gallagher, mainstay on the NRG, close to all of our events, playing Azorius Control. On the left-hand side of your screen, I would like to introduce you to Ray Zong. People who may not know the name, but you might recognize the name CFT Sock on Magic Online. They are an amazing, amazing player, amazing deck builder, showing up. They've kind of been a pioneer of this 4-color Legends deck in Standard for quite some time now. They've played a bunch of different iterations on it, and we do see Ray representing that particular deck this weekend. First thing I'm going to do is go to the deck list and see if we have the Infinite Combo piece. I forget the Ludovic, and it looks like there is no Ludovic in Ray's deck.
I'm also having a little look. No, it's kind of it's giving off what kind of Dom Harvey vibes. Still a couple of crazy ones in here. By the way, the Goose Mother's in here. Let's go. Let's go. I want to see that one being cast. I'm all here for it. But are they over here as well, potentially for the Pro Tour? Is that why we're getting to see them here at the NRG series?
I believe so, yeah. I'm not exactly sure where CFT Sock resides, but I believe they are in, Chicago for the Pro Tour next weekend. And, it's nice because we get to see some people that we may not really see super often on the NRG series, some very high-level players competing. And, it's awesome to see, we get to see Sodek, we get to see Manguchi yesterday. A lot of good players showed up to this event.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, but nothing, you wouldn't expect anything less, especially with a Pro Tour right around the corner, when you can go a little bit weak, a week earlier, climatize a little bit so you're not tired for when the PT happens. And while you do that, you get to play some awesome Magic with awesome prizes on the line, like these players here are doing. Okay, we're deciding which lands we want to be returning. We've seen this before in Dom. Why does everybody move really quickly when it comes to the graveyard? At least I think that's the graveyard at the top of the screen. It's kind of a mush of cards.
Tough to tell. I wonder. I think Ray might be separating their graveyard in terms of creatures, lands, and spells. That's what it looks like to me, at least. Yeah. So it's easier to kind of pick apart and figure out what we have available to us for Slogurk and Takanuma and all that stuff. But I think that might be what it is.
What it really is it's not a mash of cards. It's actually really well laid out graveyard for not only us at home but also for the players. Thus we're going to see a Rona come down here, and that was a counter spell. Yeah, straight. Okay, we'll pseudo counter spell. Is that the protocol? Yeah, protocol.
It was so funny. This is, maybe going back a little bit, but I was playing at the standard San Diego Regional Championship, last winter, whatever. And I played against Ray, and they were playing this Legends deck in Standard, and I did not know what any of their cards did. So I was gonna ask a judge to see if I could get a bunch of Oracle text or whatever, and Ray just handed me their deck and is like, "You can just read the cards," because I'm sure they probably ran into that a couple of times. It was pretty funny.
It's like, been here, done that. Here we go. Have a little look. Oh yeah, because like RC's being open decklist tournament.
Exactly.
This, not an open decklist tournament. Not at least until we get to the top 8 when it goes to all the players. We're going to see dress on the stack. What do you rate this dress art out of
10? Better than the last one, but I would still say probably like a 2 or a 3.
Cool, got you. And that's going to take a Wandering Empress. So that's going to hit the graveyard. Sean untapping, game down. This is round number 5 of 8 that we have going to be bringing you today before we get to the top 8. Didn't even notice that there was a Jace on the battlefield and it's not there anymore.
Yeah, so just kind of figuring out what's going on in this game. Ray is currently up a game. There's a bunch of stuff in the graveyard. I'm under the assumption that we have not found a Slogurk in a while, so Ray is probably looking for some kind of either a Takanuma or a Slogurk to go ahead and get the ball rolling. And it looks like Sean has got a couple of cards in hand. A couple of maps in play. There's a Rona for Ray, and we'll see what Sean is lining up here.
I'm having a little look at Sean's list, and I can't see any. What's the 6-mana Wrath that does graveyards and
Farewell?
Yes, I can't see any farewells in the 75.
That's a good look. Yeah, no farewells. There's 3 Sunfalls, 2 depopulates in the main deck, and then the sideboard there is 1 temporary lockdown, but no copies of farewell. So, Ray doesn't necessarily know that, but Ray's graveyard is, basically it's going to be there. There's no farewells, and that's maybe something that Sean was really looking for in a matchup like this.
Hey, do you know what the difference is with this deck list and Dom's? Basic Swamp.
Oh, there's a basic.
Yeah, there's a basic in the face of these.
You know what's funny is that Ray is playing one less land than Dom and still was able to find room for that basic. Just saying.
Look, Twitter. Oh, okay.
Skill issue.
Skill issue. Deck building issue. Let's go. We're going to see this Spasagi end of turn. That's going to hit the temporary lockdown. We're going to go get a Plains ally deck. Put that on the battlefield here for sure. What are we getting in there or are we drawing? It looks like we're drawing.
I would assume we're drawing. I don't think we're attacking with that Rona.
Hey, look, that's a 19-turn clock. You don't know. You don't know. Crazy things have happened. I think that was a pass turn. End of turn, we're going to flash back a Memory Deluge out of the graveyard. This time we get to look at the top 7 and put 2 into our... Potentially we do. We're going to... Oh, okay. It was the untap check. I was like, surely we're not targeting our own Rona. So we're going to stop the flashback, but we are going to let this one draw another card here. And then going to draw another one for the turn. That's going to be our Wrath off the top. We're going to look at to exile everything and make a Incubate token, which would be 2 currently.
You know, well, looking at how many cards are in Ray's graveyard and how long this game is gone, I'm curious to how many cards are left in Ray's deck. Like, I'm wondering how likely is it that the game ends in a deck out?
I don't know.
Gotta be close, right?
I don't know if I'm ready for that. I don't know if I can take that right now. Well, we're going to use the Otawara. We're going to bounce it back to our hand. So just one counter is going to go on this Incubate token. And Ray going to have at least a Rona to cast next turn. And okay, that's the creature land that's going to be activated. Sure.
Is that a Liliana?
Yeah, that was a Liliana.
There is two Lilianas in Ray's sideboard. Okay, I didn't even notice that. It's kind of a cool, good sideboard card against blue-white for sure. So we see the Rona picked up, and I'm still guessing that's the graveyard. It's just in 3 separate piles, I think.
I'm going with you. It is the graveyard. We've probably got 3 piles plus exile pile off the screen.
Yeah.
Is what I'm imagining, and we're just turning and burning. So, yep, you can draw another card here. Land's going to go to the graveyard.
I also wonder at what point do we, if we're in Ray's position, I wonder at what point do we think about firing off the Rona flip? I guess, into that much open mana, probably not it's a risky proposition for sure. And Sean's on 19, so it's not like it's, a 1 or 2 turn clock.
We just, I don't even know what that is. It's 2 mana for something. What was that? Oh, was that a
deduce? I think that is deduce. What deduce? Yeah, there are 4 copies of deduce in Sean's deck.
I kind of just love saying that card. Deduce?
What deduce?
Okay, we're going to Field of Ruin.
Field of Ruin. Have we gone through the basic yet?
Nope.
We're searching.
There it is.
There's the basic.
Deck building 101. Love to see it.
Dom should take notes from Ray. Just saying. Add that basic.
Just screenshot that into action. Field of Ruin, pointing your land. Basic coming to play.
Just send Dom the clip of him just getting Field of Ruin 4 times, and
it's too soon. It's too soon.
He probably wouldn't like that.
This looks like it's gonna be a March for 2. Trying to exile the Rona. This is going to be
Channel Takenuma. That's what we talked about earlier because we want to get that Slowgurk back. I'm assuming that's what Ray got. Yeah, Ray got the Slowgurk back. So, and heads up, doing that now instead of waiting because you wanted to get the discount on the Takenuma.
Yeah, literally every little counts. That's then a saying for a popular shopping mall or food shop in the UK.
The big question here is: does Sean have a counter spell for this Slowgurk? Because if not, it's going to get a lot of value. Now, if we look at Sean's list, we have hard counters. There are 3 Disruption Protocol, which is not, I don't think, a very common card. Most of the counter spells are No More Lies and that kind of stuff, and that is the Protocol.
Yep, Sean had it. We're going to flip. We're going to make a 1/1. Now we've got an 18 turn clock. Do have a map token on the battlefield though, so we can maybe grow it a little bit more. I'm now getting sick
18?
from chat for calling a UK like shop a mall. I was halfway.
No.
I was trying to turn it into an American term.
What
for
have you done,
Doom,
Will?
And I know they're turning it against me. You were the chosen one. It is what it is, Chad. It is what it is. Look, we all shop at Tesco in the UK. It's how it rolls. But we did use that map token. We did manage to make a extra +1/+1 counter, which means we go from an 18 turn clock to a 9 turn clock. That is quick math.
I'm also kind of curious as to how much time is left in the round. Like, how much longer does Ray want to play this game out? I'm not saying the game is 100% over, but time has got to be a consideration because Ray, does want to try to be able to win Game 3.
Well, I'm sure production can get that to us momentarily, so we can. Because actually, that is I didn't even think about that. How much time would be on the clock here. But if it did go to, if there's not much time left, Ray is probably the deck that's got the deck that can like pull ahead here quicker or win quicker than Sean's deck on the right.
Well, that's the other thing too, is if there's not a lot of time left, then maybe Ray can try to win the match 1-0. Right. It depends. Yeah. It's like if we're in the middle, if there's like maybe 10 or 15 minutes, Sean can probably close out the game in 5 minutes, but you want to make sure you give yourself time to win Game 3. So it's like you got to find that right balance.
One card in hand. One's going to be drawn for the turn. Do we want to do anything at the end of turn here? I'm having a little look-see.
Yeah, I don't know if we can get an update from production as to how much time is left in the round, but I'd be very curious.
Here comes the Tokonoma. We're going to return it again. Get the namesake. Well, not the namesake. They're kind of the engine of this deck, the Overslime.
All right, so we did get an update from production. I did remember this actually was this was a deck check table. So they have an extension, which means if I go back here and I can check the time extension, I believe they have a 12-minute time extension.
Oh, we're here for a while.
So yeah, we're going to be here for a little bit.
We're going to see this
your popcorn chat.
What topping do you like to have on your popcorn?
Just butter.
See, we don't even have that in the UK. We don't do butter.
What?
It's like
what do you put on your popcorn then?
It's either sweet or salted, or if you're really fancy, you get like toffee popcorn.
Oh my goodness!
But whoa!
This is why I'll never go to the UK.
Whoa! No, toffee popcorns. That's like S tier, dude. Someone in chat, please back me up here. Please don't make me sound insane. I wonder how many cards are left in library, though. That might actually come into effect more than...
Okay, so we have 8 minutes left in the game, plus the 12-minute time extension. So it looks like we get about 20 minutes left. I just saw Ray picking up their deck, and it did not look like they were thumbing through that many cards when they picked it up. So probably not that much left.
There's the draw.
Okay, we have a Slowgurk.
Oh, no, there's lots
now
of
we're
cards.
Counting. Yeah, Sean's got a lot. I don't know how many Ray has, but Sean definitely has more than Ray, for sure. I know that.
Let's get in there for free. Wandering Emperor check is what we call this. Yeah, sure, we'll take it. We got, our life total's high 19, dropping to 16. That's fine.
You've got some people in chat that are on your side.
What can I say? Those people just happen to be right and really amazing people and just awesome in every way.
What are your thoughts on Nando's, though?
Oh, come on. Come on.
Nando's sponsorship, what?
Let's go. I'm trying hard. You don't need to, there's only so many words in the world that can get me going. Nando's, that's one of them. Let's go. Where's my chicken lovers? A lot of land here on the battlefield for sure.
Yeah,
tapping a bunch of it.
Chat's bringing up a good point here. I don't know.
What?
There is, as far as Jace the Perfected Mind, so there's 1 in Ray's main deck and 2 in Ray's sideboard. You have to imagine the other 2 probably came in. So obviously hard to tell with the graveyard situation how many they've gone through. But if there's a Jace left in the deck, that could be an out because it's unlikely that Sean can survive a mill 15.
True, and I suppose you could also get it back with. Can you get it back with Tokonoma? Yeah, you can, can't you?
Yes, you can get back.
It's cheaper, right? Is
You
it
can
cheaper?
get it. No, Takenube gets back Planeswalkers.
Oh, even better.
But the other thing we want to talk about is, do we have Tidebinders? There's 2 Tidebinders in Sean's sideboard, and you would have to imagine those came in as well.
Okay, we're gonna cast one. It's gonna get countered, so it won't. We won't have the legend rule, so we can't be returning any more lands.
So the Tidebinder countered the Slogurk return land ability. So if I correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the one that's in play still has all of its abilities. Something to keep in mind.
Would it?
Right, because so you're countering the. Oh, he had 2 Tidebinders. Okay, and that's gonna do it. Yeah. So what happened there is a bit of a a scuffle there. So what happened was Ray played a second Slogurk, Legend Rule, got the lands back. Sean stifled that ability. Then Get Lost, the new Slogurk, had a second Tidebinder for the second Slogurk.
Basically, had it all, is what you just said there in that sentence.
Had all these.
Had all D's still. All right, we're going to go to a game 3. I'm going to see if we can get the deck list on the screen to show all you beautiful people at home watching. Here's Ray's deck list. What do you like or what do you think, even though we just had a little glimpse there because we're going into a game of 3. But let's go with what bad cards. What wouldn't we want in this main deck that we probably boarded out?
I told you not to ask me questions about this deck, Will.
What do you feel? What would you not want in this match? Like, what's been like? Is go? I guess go to the throat is bad, right?
Cut down, go for the throat. Those are easy cuts. Those you can get out of here. Long goodbye. I don't think has any targets in Sean's deck. Yeah, that one probably don't want either. So those you can cut. As far as the legends themselves, like I would assume you want to keep all the Inties, Slogurks, and Rhodas. You probably want the Glissas. Maybe you can cut the Vohar. Maybe you can trim a Titania because life doesn't matter that much. Something along those lines. And then as far as cards you want to bring in, Urtai, Kura, I assume, the 2 Lilies, the 2 Jaces, and the 3 Duresses. So Ray has a lot of sideboard cards for this matchup.
My main question, and the only thing I can really focus on is the Mother Goose staying in, or would you be taking that out?
I imagine it's good. Like if the game goes long, it's a pretty big mana sink. So I would imagine you want to keep it
I'm getting that. Right, let's have a little look-see on the other side of the battlefield in this control deck. What they've brought, Sean's list. There it is for us all. Good and bad cards. What you got?
Bad cards, tough to say. The Whale maybe is a little bit too slow. You want to keep the removal. I assume you want to keep the counter spells. The Wraths are good. Like that's the thing, right? Sean doesn't really have that many bad cards. Like you want the Marches to Exile, maybe Emperor's a little bit too slow. Maybe you trim on some of the counter spells. And then as far as cards you want to bring in, we saw the Tidebinders that game. Those were very good. I guess that's a good point. Sean doesn't have a ton to bring in, but also doesn't have a ton to bring out. So it kind of makes sense.
Sweet. Well, both players are drawing their opening 7s. I think we've got mulligans on both sides, so 6 card hands for both players here as we go into game number 3. Only one of these players can advance and be 5-0, giving themselves the best possible chance to get into today's top 8. Starting off with an Inti. Let's go. I think it's probably the first one we've seen actually resolve this tournament so far.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. One card that on Sean's side of things that we didn't bring up was Dennick, PS Apprentice, because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Slogurk targets the lands. Let me pull up Ray's deck. I'm fairly certain that Slogurk targets the lands. 3 target land cards. So if Dennick is in play, that can break up the Slogurk loop.
Well, it's going to come down, but like the No More Lies is going to stop that and exile it, which is going to be quite key in this matchup. Nice little extra line of text there from the new card from the latest set as Inti gets turned sideways again. +1/+1 counter on it. Exile a card from our hand. What do we choose to exile this turn? It is going to be a Jace. Okay. And why is there 2 Phyrexian Jace? What have I missed? Phyrexian Jace, hit Phyrexian Jace, cast Phyrexian Jace, counter Phyrexian Jace. Got you. Right. Cool.
It's a lot going on there, Will, huh?
There is a lot. But now we're going into the late, let's go the mid game here. It's just Sean potentially could, let's say, deal with this, but does leave a window open here. What can we resolve?
It's a relic. I was going to say, it's something like a Liliana would be so good here for Ray. That's a card that you really, really just want to get into play. But I actually didn't think we had double black last turn, so we couldn't even cast Liliana. I think it's a Yavimaya Coast and Otawara.
There comes a runner on the battlefield and just a tapped land. End of turn, we're going to go Memory Deluge. This card's just, every time my opponent casts this card, I always feel like I'm behind. Like, it means
Deluge?
Deluge, sorry. It means I haven't done anything to affect the battlefield enough, and they will not only that, they're finding 2 perfect cards to put in their hand that I now have to start dealing with as I move forward. And I can hear you typing away. Is that like a ninjutsu card that we're missing? It is. It is. What is this?
No, that's. I'm pretty sure that's just a. No, that's just a Slowgurk. We tap the Rona for mana. Relic taps the Rona for mana. I'll cast Slowgurk, untap the Rona. Now
I was literally looking. I was looking for ninjutsu. I was like, is that a ninjutsu card? Let's go. That's a mechanic we don't see enough of in any format. Right? Let's be honest. That's really, really sick.
So we got here for Ray. We're looting. Looks like we cycled the land, doing stuff with Rona. See what we can find here. Ray really wants to find. I mean, we're trying to resolve a Slowgurk, which that's what we tried to do last turn. Sean did have a counter spell. One thing that's worth noting: No More Lies. The exile on that is massive because with Ray featuring 4 copies of Takenuma in their deck, it means that that card being exiled is no longer able to be rebought off with the Takenuma.
Seen. So I think there's going to be around. We'll see if we can get production to give us how much time is left on the round. I imagine it's going to be around the 5-minute mark because you can see the speed that both of these players are playing. This isn't a time warp match. It isn't been recorded and playing back to you at 1.5 speed. They are playing as quickly as you are witnessing. We're going to run it in a turn. Draw a card, discard a card. We're then going to go Takenoma. Is it Taka? Which one's that one? Yeah, the Takenoma and the turn.
Takenuma, yeah. There's the Slowgurk back. And then we can use the Rona for mana. We're going to go ahead and cast the Slowgurk, which untaps the Rona. And we'll see if Sean has another counter spell available. I see a No More Lies, but I think Ray still has 5 mana available to go ahead and pay for the No More Lies. So there's 2 No More Lies. Yep.
Well, no more left in the deck. That's all 4 being cast so far this game in the first 8 turns.
There are, in fact, no more lies left in this game.
I love it. See that? Set you up, knocks it out the park, my friend.
That was bad. Can we cut that?
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, so we get a note from production that says going into time, but is that including their extension? That's what I want to double check.
Oh, yeah, the dice is on the table now, so this is turn 1.
It's got to be, yeah.
Turn 2. I don't think either player can win.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty clear draw.
We're going to start off with a duress. 1 card in hand. It's Memory Deluge. Now, what if... Okay, on 2, 3, 4... No, because we've only got 2 more turns. We've got this plus 1 more.
Yeah, I mean, Sean gets 2 attack steps, but I don't know if we can get 9 power in play to get a 2-turn clock, right? Like, I don't know how we're doing that.
Yeah, there's no Hall of the Storm Giants or anything crazy like that in this list.
Shark Typhoon, any of that stuff? None of that.
No, there's a lot whale.
Yeah, I was going to say, there is the whale. That's a 6/6, right?
Yeah, correct, 6/6.
But even then, it's still not a 2-turn clock.
Yeah, like we're going to go end of turn. We're going to flash back the Memory Deluge, put 2 cards in hand, leaves us with 2 mana, so we can't really add a threat that way. Yeah, I think we're just going through the motions here before we end up with a inevitable handshake from both of these players. It's not the end of the world though, having a draw in round 5 when you started 4-0, but it's not as good as a win. It doesn't mean that you will have to play a little bit of extra match to try and get yourself into the top 8 this weekend. There's the 2 cards going to hand. Extra turn number 3. And if people are just tuning, just watching, Paper Magic for the first time, don't understand why this dice is on the table, what this extra turns means. Basically, once the time on the round has finished, there will be 5 extra turns starting when the round has ended. So the active player finishes their turn 0, and then from there, the players have 5 extra turns to try and get a conclusion of the game. There is a little bit of exception to that rule. If a slow play happens, I believe you can go up to 7. Correct me if I'm wrong, but... yeah,
something like that.
It looks like that might end up in a draw. Can we get confirmation that that's a draw production? There was no one conceded to the other one in the last rounds or anything like that. But while they do that, it was a draw. So that one did end in a draw. Both players going to be not advancing, but going to round number 6 with a 4-0-1 record. Could be a lot worse. Could end up being, the Will special and 0-3 drop. So they're still, getting one up on me. But that is going to be it for round number 5. We're going to step away, have a short break because that round took it out of everybody involved, not just us. Then we'll be coming back with round number 6 shortly. I'm going to be staying here for one more round. Doom's going to drop out, go get himself some dinner. And then I'm going to be back in the booth with none other than Mason Clark himself. And then from round 7, I'm going to go, and then Doom's going to come back in and take over from me. So a little bit of confusion, cast to swap around for the next couple of rounds, chat, but we'll talk all through that when we come back. So stick around, don't go anywhere. We'll see you shortly.